One. Good evening, Fremont Unified School District community. My name is CJ Kamek. Very proud and honored to be the superintendent of Fremont Unified School District. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our Measure E community update. Today is May 16th, 2022. And for those of you who might be watching this on a recording at a future time, thank you very much for taking the time to watch our recording. For those of you who may be watching live tonight, this is going to be recorded and placed on our website for future use. So those of you who are joining us live this evening, thank you for joining us. Tonight, I'm joined by our Director of Facilities, Kelly Lynch McMahon, our Bond Program Manager from Vanner, Lisa McLean, and very pleased to introduce to our community our Interim Associate Superintendent, Mr. Bruce Colby. Mr. Colby comes to us from Davis Joint Unified after 14 years of successful experience there as the Associate Superintendent / Chief Business Official. And we're grateful to have his interim support while we search for our permanent Associate Superintendent. For our event this evening, we'll be going through our Measure E bond background, our bond program progress, completed projects, current projects, and obviously future projects as well. Looking back to June of 2014, with a 61.8% yes vote, the community of Fremont approved a $650 million Measure E general obligation bond initiative for Fremont Unified School District. From that point, there was the use of an extensive facility needs assessment, long-range facilities plan, comprehensive and inclusive process, and ultimately, the board identified the following work to update technology, remove asbestos, repair, construct, acquire equipment, classroom sites and facilities, and fix and replace leaky roofs, aging plumbing, and restrooms. How do we go about prioritizing that work? As you can see on the screen in front of you, there was a lot of work done in the long-range facilities plan, and this work has spanned several years. Plans have needed to be updated, and we're at a point right now where we're continuing to reflect on the prioritization of projects because this community support has extended for many years, and we're grateful to have many of these challenges in front of us still. In looking at the framework of priorities, the review was around demographic projections, needs assessments of the facilities, educational standards, and then finance and funding. And ultimately that tied into our long-range facilities plan, which drove the guiding principles and overall vision for Measure E. Another significant part of that prioritization is our Facilities Advisory Committee for Fremont Unified School District. This is a standing body of parents, guardians, and Fremont residents, a student member, and that advises the board and makes recommendations regarding facilities. You see in the image captured here, our chair, Brian Gephardt. And through that, with the Measure E bonds, you see the series of bonds that we've issued, meaning these are the bonds that we sell into the market, which generates the proceeds for the district for the projects. We just sold our last series of bonds. We had a very successful sale on the market. And I want to commend Fremont Unified for its work prior to my arrival. And since I've been here, we maintained a AA2 credit rating with Moody's Financial. And what that allows us to do is to remain attractive to investors. It keeps our tax rates down. And also multiple times we have gone forward to the board and we have refinanced the bonds that have been issued previously at a lower percentage rate, saving money for our taxpayers as well. So as you see through the series that have been issued, the $650 million that are authorized. And of course, when we have this facility funding from the community, we want to be good stewards of the public money. And so we have a system of accountability and transparency. We have our Measure E Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Pictured here is our current chair, Benita Verma. We also have a bond program review that was conducted by an outside agency, Total School Solutions. That work started just prior to my arrival, and since then we've had a joint meeting with the CBOC to review that report. You can find that underneath our board agendas. That was done earlier this year. We also have an annual audit and a performance audit for the bond. And then also, as another measure of transparency, we bring items forward regarding our school facilities projects to the Board of Education, which generally meets twice a month. And when we start to look at the completed projects under Measure E, we're just going to spend a second on this slide here, and you're not going to be asked to read every single name on the screen, but you can see that there has been a lot of benefit across the community for Measure E dollars. And in the rest of the presentation, we're going to pull out more details about many of these schools and projects. You can see the scope ranging from IT to flooring to new classroom buildings to modernization, as well as some other or additional projects. Some of our completed modernization projects on this slide, we see Grimmer, Mission Valley, and Olivera, all elementary schools. And you can see the construction costs for each project. What you'll see consistent there is HVAC upgrades. You'll also see general work in asbestos abatement, replacement of flooring, other things that would be done to modernize a school, remembering that the needs for each school differ a little bit. And so the exact list won't be 100% the same. Looking at other modernization, the American High School project had a construction cost of just over 18 million. You can see the list of things provided in that, inclusive of roof restoration, outside air duct above ceilings, new HVAC in classrooms. And many of those projects were beneficial as we entered into the unexpected development of a pandemic. Here are just some pictures of that work, including the gym at American High School and some completed classroom buildings. So the prior element, we talked about modernization. These would be classroom buildings for our elementary schools. You'll see Azaveda, Matos, Brookvale, and Patterson after I put the screen back to where it should go. You'll see the construction costs for each project. And again, a little bit of a different scope, but all surrounding new classroom buildings. You'll also see here Warm Springs Elementary School included on the top of the slide, and then two of our high schools, Irvington and Washington. Those dollar amounts for the construction costs a little bit higher, as you can imagine. The high school projects are a little more comprehensive in many cases. These are pictures on the right-hand side of your screen of the new classroom buildings at American High School. On the bottom left of the screen, you'll see the original renderings, and very pleased with how the final product turned out. A 2-story science building with 12 classrooms, 6 science labs, toilet rooms, and elevators. And one of our biggest endeavors under Measure E is our middle school conversions. And one of the projects that we've been able to bring our students back to since the pandemic is Horner Middle School. You'll see the project budget of just under $100 million at $99.7 million. And you'll see it covers pretty much everything you would expect for nearly a completely comprehensive brand new campus, locker room expansion, play field improvements, and then you'll see buildings A, B, C, and D, and obviously a lot of new paving and site work and underground utilities. Here are some of the pictures of Horner during the process, the renderings. You'll see those on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you see the completed project, the new computer lab, the new fields and track, and the new school buildings in general. Another middle school conversion that's come to completion is Walters Middle School. That was just under $40 million of a project budget. That includes the modernization of 10 buildings, construction of 2-story classroom structures, and one-story classroom structure. And again, new underground utilities, civil and site improvements, fire lane access, and landscaping. I've had the pleasure to be at both Walters and Horner this year for visits, and the campuses look excellent. Seems like the students and the staff are enjoying those new facilities immensely. And here on this screen, you'll see again pictures. Bottom left is the rendering, and all the other pictures are finished project or in progress. You'll see on the center of the screen in the bottom row. And again, very grateful to have these improved and enhanced facilities for Fremont Unified School District and for Walters. Other completed projects: the Mission San Jose High School pool, replacement of the pool, additional lighting, addition of mechanical structures, and construction of a new restroom building. You can see the construction cost, about $5.4 million for that project. And the Washington High School Theater, the project budget of about $4.7 million, the demolition of the existing site, interior renovation of the theater, landscaping, and alterations to room 63. And these are some great pictures of that new facility. I've had the pleasure to be in the Washington High School Theater as it was just finishing up. And what a great new facility that theater is, in addition to the classrooms and the space adjacent to the theater that has been enhanced as well. So very, very lucky to see those projects. And we have a number of things that are in progress, as you might imagine. So in progress, we have Centerville Middle School. And if you've driven by Centerville in the last 14 to 16 months, you've likely seen a tremendous amount of progress, easily visible to the eye. This is construction of a new 2-story building, inclusive of science labs, classrooms, media center, administration, flex labs, HVAC, IT upgrades, all the things that you would expect on a comprehensive middle school conversion, new lunch structure, obviously reconfigure drop off and pick up, with the level of construction that we're seeing, and expansion of the drama room and modernization of the locker rooms. So while those developments are easy to see from the eye when you're driving by, if you haven't driven by that campus recently or been there, here are some additional pictures that demonstrate the progress. On the top left, you'll see the rendering. And I think just below that, you'll see the current recent picture. And I think you really start to see that it is starting to design and look exactly like the rendering. Very excited to see that come to its final stages as we continue through the process. And of course, on the right-hand side, you see some in-process construction work for Centerville. I want to thank the Centerville community, most especially the staff and the students as well, the administration. I know everybody there is dealing with the difficulties of conducting school while there is construction happening in the immediate proximity. And of course, I want to thank the construction crews and everybody working on the project as well. As much as it can be, I think it's been a successful venture this year to manage both of those environments, and we look forward to that continuing. The project budget for Centerville, roughly $90.2 million. And I'll use a little bit of silence on my time for you to review the screen that's in front of you, and you can see where the scope of work and budgets are outlined for Centerville. Moving over to Hopkins, again, this is an opportunity for some gratitude, some thanks, and appreciation for the immense flexibility and understanding of our Hopkins community. As we all know, with our Hopkins site, we unexpectedly, just prior to the start of the year, needed to move our Hopkins middle school students and families over to the recently finished Lila Bringhurst Elementary School campus. And that has been the interim home for our Hopkins students, staff, and community this year. And again, I can't express enough gratitude and appreciation for the flexibility that they've demonstrated. I think they've been a wonderful guest in that space. And I know they're looking forward to returning to their true home site of Hopkins next year. And we look forward to opening officially Lila Bringhurst as an elementary school for the community. And we also know that it will be home to our Mandarin immersion program. And we're very excited to open Lila Bringhurst, the elementary school, next fall, this August, and invite our Hopkins families back to their true campus. So the Hopkins project budget, just over $84 million, construction of a 2-story classroom, IT upgrades, HVAC and lighting, plumbing and restroom, flooring and ceiling, upgrade to site utilities, site landscaping, and you've probably, if you've driven by, you've seen the significant reconfiguration of the drop-off and pickup area for Hopkins as well. And that is an area that we've been using this year for the bus drop-off and a transportation that we've been doing in the morning from Hopkins. Here are some pictures of the Hopkins site in process. You'll see locker rooms on the top left, classroom on the far right. In the center, you'll see one of the new restrooms. And I do want to call out, we had a few people reach out on our question and answer for this evening's forum. And we did receive an inquiry about restroom cleanliness and accessibility for Fremont Unified. And please note that that's something that we are certainly always striving to do with the excellent work of our custodians. And we'll continue to work to improve the cleanliness and availability of the restrooms for all of our students and staff, and not necessarily measure E-related for every single site. But I did want to acknowledge that we'd received feedback on that. And I think in the picture, you can see the goal that we're searching for our restroom facilities for students. As would be with all things, we would like a safe, clean, and successful environment for our students. With Hopkins, you'll also see here on the top left, the reconfiguration of the drop-off and pickup, which is more finished than it is in this picture. And you'll see in the next picture on the top right, the front office area that is being reconstructed, as well as on the bottom right, you'll see some of the 2-story building construction taking place. So very excited to see the progress continue at Hopkins this spring and through the summer, and to invite our students from Hopkins back to their true campus as we open school next year. And again, I'll take an opportunity for some silence from me. This is the Hopkins project budget. You'll see on the left-hand column the scope of work, and the right-hand column the budgets associated with that scope. We'll give you a chance to review that information. And moving on to Thornton Middle School, again, another example where we would want to extend gratitude and appreciation to the students and the staff and the construction crews at Thornton. They as well have been managing their learning environment and their school environment with a significant amount of construction happening within the immediate proximity. And we appreciate everybody's cooperation and flexibility to make that a successful experience as it can be. And these are renderings on the left-hand side that you see for the project. The budget was around $92.4 million. This includes new classroom, library, and administration buildings, parking and drop-off improvements, modernization of existing buildings, playfields, and IT infrastructure. And if you've been to Thornton recently, you've seen the immense progress that's happening there. I think for our middle school conversion projects, that's one of the very exciting things, is when you're out on those sites, you see the real-time progress taking place, and you see the buildings really coming along with the construction progress. And you can see here the Thornton Middle School areas of the existing buildings, the new construction, the modernization, the minor, the very minor, and you can also see where we've reconfigured the play field and where we may have new portables. So a lot of comprehensive work happening for Thornton Middle School. And we are very grateful for the community support of Measure E to complete these conversions of our middle schools. You can see on the pictures here for Thornton on the top left, the buildings, in my mind, they don't actually angle out as much as the picture shows. It's the need of a wide angle lens to capture both sides of the building, but a great looking facility as you see it being constructed. And you can see on the bottom right, a little more of the true angle of that facility. And also you can see the basketball, the courts, the field behind it, and the in progress construction that's taking place. And again, the Thornton budget, these are the increments and the budget allocations. Again, referencing the $92.4 million budget. And upcoming modernizations, as I just shared in the beginning of this presentation, we just had a sale of our last series of bonds for $125 million. And so, you know, we have upcoming projects that will require financing and the fiscal commitment to make sure they're completed. Those would include what we call our Group 1 elementary schools. And the first one would be Brookvale Elementary School with a project budget of $6.6 million roughly. That would include HVAC replacement, roof repair, and flooring replacement. Followed up by Green Elementary School with a project budget of $5.2 million roughly. Again, HVAC replacement, roof repair, and flooring replacement. And I think what you'll see in these line items is the prioritization that has taken place in prior years through the long-range facility plan, the priority areas established by the Facilities Advisory Committee, and ultimately the direction of the board as well. For Matos Elementary School, we see a project budget of just over $4 million. Again, HVAC replacement, roof repair, and flooring replacement. So these are modernizations, but they are not at the same level of scope of work that you've seen from, for example, when we do the conversion of our middle schools. And Mission San Jose Elementary School, project budget of just over $2.6 million. And stop me if you've heard this before, but again, HVAC replacement, roof repair, and flooring replacement. Vallejo Mill, $6.5 million, just over that budget at 6.58. Again, HVAC replacement, roof repair, and flooring replacement. So as we move forward with those Group 1 elementary schools, we also have Kennedy High School. And in this drawing on the left-hand side, you can start to see some of the scope of work. For example, theater upgrades to the sound system, acoustics, lighting, and controls, HVAC upgrades, paving and striping, basketball courts, resurface existing courts, 12 new DSA compliant basketball backboards and courts and striping, exterior lighting, main sewer line replacement, upgraded electrical main, and there is some areas that are not in the scope at this time. And with the Kennedy High School project, we're looking at the DSA has recently approved the project in May of 2022. There will be a requirement for some on-site temporary housing while the campus is modernized. And also the project scope, as I mentioned previously, upgraded electrical, HVAC, classroom, parking, lighting, theater, restrooms, and technology support spaces. So we're currently in the contract document and bidding phase, and very excited to see John F. Kennedy High School receive this level of work. And the project budget is $24.5 million. And you can see the scope of work on the left and the budget allocations on the right. And I'll give our audience a chance to review that information. And with that, I want to thank our community for its continued support of the Measure E Bond program. That is a lot of information, in a short amount of time. But we also recognize that our community is very busy and has a number of competing needs for their time. And what we wanted to do was come together and provide a brief yet comprehensive update of the work that Fremont Unified School District has been able to complete on behalf of our students and staff, and in thanks to our community for their support of Measure E. We cannot engage in these projects, we cannot address these facility needs without the generous support of our community and the passage of Measure E. And I really want to reiterate the gratitude for the shared accountability and involvement that we have from groups like our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, which has the primary focus of making sure that the community generated resources from Measure E bond dollars are used for Measure E bond projects and used appropriately, from the Facilities Advisory Committee and their work in focusing on the priority of these projects, to the work of our board in making very difficult decisions about the when and the where to allocate these funds based on the recommendations of the FAC and our staff and our vendors. And of course, I want to acknowledge everybody who is dealing with the construction on their sites, as I've talked about. They're always exciting projects, but there's also an element of managing the existing environment for both parties. And hopefully this is an opportunity for you as a community to see the many, many accomplishments that we've already had with the Measure E program, the ones that are in progress when we wrap up our middle school conversions. And somebody had reached out and asked for a timeline update on those. And we are still holding August of 2023 as the time when we hope to make those conversions a reality. And there are many exciting things happening in the district as we point towards that timeline and moving our sixth graders onto those middle school campuses across the district. And of course, we look forward to Kennedy High School's work and the Group 1 elementary schools with their renovations and modernizations as well. So with that, I would also like to take a minute and thank Lisa from Banner, Director Lynch McMahon, who is our Director of Facilities, and all of our team, both from the financial and the facility side, that do all the work to support what's happening in our schools through our bond program. And with that, I want to acknowledge and thank everybody for their time. Please know that if you'd like, you'll be able to see this video or this recording on our website. And if you watched it live, it will be uploaded for your convenience as soon as possible. If you'd like to go back and revisit some of the information or take a little bit more time looking at some of the pictures. Thank you very much. And as always, I encourage our community, if you have a question, comment, or concern, please feel free to reach out. It is my distinct pleasure to serve our community, and I try and always respond to parent emails within 24 to 48 hours. So I do look forward to hearing from you if you have a point of discussion that you'd like to review, and I thank you for your time this evening. Thank you so much. Take care.